You are Locked On Astros Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Times have been very good for the Houston Astros of late, but unfortunately, you're not going to win every baseball game on a very, very odd Monday in Cincinnati against the Reds, a Labor Day edition of baseball. The Astros just could not put together anything really at the plate all day long, and on top of it, their starting pitcher, who has done so much great for this franchise, gave you another example today of why the end might be near, not only for his Astros career, but could it be the end, towards the end of his baseball career as a whole? We'll talk about all of that today. Welcome to the Locked On Astros Postcast here this afternoon on a Monday afternoon, a Labor Day edition. Hope you guys have had a nice, calm, even if it's not calm, whatever you've been doing, fun Labor Day. Appreciate you taking some time to come and join us here live on the channel. If you're new to it today, please hit that subscribe button. Of course, that'll allow you to come back and join us every time that we do a game like this. The Astros are not the only team we do on this channel. We do Rockets, we do Texans, we do Cougs as well. Next weekend is going to be this upcoming weekend, I should say, will be very busy on this channel. We will have 4 shows across the channel over the weekend. We will have the Astros and Cougs on Saturday. Then Sunday, we'll have Texans and Astros in that order, how I gave it there. But I am your host, Michael Connor, this afternoon. If you don't know me, I've been around covering the Astros for a long time. Did it on the radio for a very long time with the flagship station. And now here with you guys on the Locked On Sports Network. Today's episode, by the way, is brought to you by FanDuel. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. It started from the jump today for Justin Verlander, and I put it on the screen there. If you're watching this live, I can't figure out which way to point. The Verlander problem. And it's not really that it's a problem for this baseball team in the sense that, they are counting on him to be great, because they're not. This team is going to go as far as Framber Valdez and Hunter Brown at the top of the rotation are going to take them. Those two guys at this point. That's where we are at. Spencer Arrighetti is in that mix, of course, as well. And now Yusei Kikuchi has elevated himself to where he's probably your Game 3 starter at this point. I have talked about this, I think, every time that Verlander has started. Now, he's not started a lot this season, of course, had the neck injury. And look, he's not going to tell us. Maybe it's still bugging him. I don't know. I don't think that that's the case here as to why we're seeing what we're seeing. I just think that every time we watch him go out and pitch, we're watching a guy that is old, get older by the day, and lose the skills that used to make him awesome. They just aren't there anymore. And I hate to live in that reality. It's not that he's the worst pitcher in the history of time. But, I mean, he's 13 starts in now this season, and his ERA is 4.52. I mean, they could get a lot of other guys out there that could do a lot better than that. That's just the truth of it. He's 41. He'll be 42 next season. He's always talked about pitching into his 40s, well into his 40s. He had the idea, the dream of getting to 300 wins. He's not getting there. He's 40 away. He's going to be 42. This sounds terrible to say. Unless he just started and they allowed him to just start taking steroids, he probably won't get better. It's the truth. His fastball has diminished a lot. His command has diminished a lot as well. And when that happens and you can't get guys out, and he has always, in the past, he's always been a guy that had unbelievable command. I think that now we see a leveling of the playing field in baseball when it comes to the substances that aren't allowed to be used on hands. I mean, look, the Astros, we all know the Astros are using substances on their hands like every team in big leagues for years. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that you go back and you look at the 2019 season when the spider tack thing was at its highest, or the Angels guy that used to put together all the stuff for the opposing teams put together, and you go back and look at like Verlander and Cole that year, they were unbelievable, and the spin rates were ridiculous, and it wasn't just those guys' problem. I'm not trying to just make this a Verlander thing. It was an entire league thing, and that's a really big reason why there was never anything that was too deep into it, because baseball had this massive problem and they didn't want anybody to know. Kind of like the sign stealing, but they didn't want to go about that the same way. But I think that the number one thing that we're seeing is a declining player. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that this is setting up for him. First of all, it's great for the Astros because that option did not vest this year. They didn't, even though they weren't going to be on the hook for the full salary next year, he's not even a $15 million pitcher anymore. And the market might dictate he gets that because the market's crazy. Like $20 million is almost the walking rate for a guy that can keep the ERA around 4, which this year he's not doing at this point. But if he gets to free agency this year, he's going to find somebody that'll want him. And look, at the end of the day, if the Astros wanted to keep him and it was a fair dollar amount, it'd be great to have Justin Verlander as your 5th starter, right? Most teams, your 5th starter isn't the best pitcher on the team, obviously. Isn't going to go out there and just twirl gems every time that they go out. You can probably live with that. But I think this whole thing is setting up for Verlander and his career to go have his swan song back in Detroit, if that's what he wants. He's had 2 places. I'm not counting the Mets tenure. I don't even know if he counts the Mets tenure. He's had 2 places that has shaped his career. I think selfishly, for me, for everybody else that's out there watching, I'm sure you might feel the same. I'd love to see him right off into the sunset as a Houston Astro whenever that day comes. It could be after this year. What if he just decides, he takes a look at the mirror and, he and his wife have more money than you could ever imagine. It's hard when you're this guy, though. It's not about the money. It's the pride. It's the ego. It's what you've done. It's what the accomplishment that's in front of you. He wanted to be a part of that club that nobody reaches anymore. And it's just out of reach now. Do you evaluate yourself in the way that things have gone the last couple of years where you've had injuries pop up? Really since 2020. He's been hurt all the time. He got hurt in 2020 and had the Tommy John, sat out all of 2021, of course. Came back 2022, was good. I think he missed starts that year. I don't think he made, am I crazy for thinking that in 2022? Yeah, he only made 28 starts that year. So he missed a few times through the rotation. I think he had that leg issue or whatever. He was covering the base or something. Last year had injuries. Started camp slow for the Mets. Came back over here, was pretty good. Solid. Got better than he was in New York. Postseason, pitched well. But I think that right now, right now the Astros would be going into the wild card round because of where they stand in the American League, being the division winner with the 3rd best record. In a best of 3, I don't think you can hand the ball. I shouldn't say I don't think you can't. I think it'd be negligence on the part of the franchise to say that this is one of our 3 best pitchers that we want to start a game in the postseason for us when it's win or go home. Maybe it sets up to where if you play that best of 3 and if you played all 3, you go into an ALDS where you need him to start a game early in the series just because of rest and whatnot. That could happen. And, I don't want to be like complete Debbie Down. He could come out next week or his next start and have an outing where he goes 6 and gives up 2 or goes 7 and gives up 1. Because there's always still that part of these guys that even though they're getting older and they're slowing down, they're going to have those moments in those games where they look like their vintage self. And he had a couple of them early this season. The start in Detroit was one of them. I feel like there was another one. I need to pull the game log here. Like that, you can find that. But that was who he used to be every time that he went out. And he's just not that guy anymore. Yeah, he had a start against Seattle that was 7 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts. A start against Oakland, 6 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts. 7 innings, 8 strikeouts against Detroit. Had a 7-inning outing against Cleveland earlier this season, but only struck out 2. But, I mean, since he's come back from the injury, he has gone against Boston, 5 innings, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts. So it was okay. I was actually pretty pleased that day. I thought the start against Philadelphia wasn't very good. Numbers say that 5 innings, 4 runs, and then today 4 2/3, 5 runs. And I know that the last few were, it was a little. The end of his day was that little flare out into the outfield, and it's fluky and whatnot. It's just that it doesn't matter what happens. Sometimes baseball does baseball, and it screws with you quite a bit. The question is going to be is if they get to a postseason, they don't want to pitch him. Is he even on a roster? Does he get left off? And the egotistical blow, because, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I love the fact that he's been an Astro, like I've said a million times, and I've had so much joy watching him. I've had the opportunity to sit down with him 4 times, I think it is, 4 times on the radio and do interviews with him. He's a great interview. But he is also, you guys see it, you don't hear from him from the local media ever, unless it's after a game. He doesn't talk to the media. He does, when they're on national TV, they put the headset on him, he'll pop up and do that. He's a diva. Like, it's the truth. He's got a little bit of a reputation for who he is and how he's always been. I think it's gotten better since he's been after the 2021 season where he wasn't around. I think he kind of took a blow to his ego there with the way that stories kind of got out there about how he was just never around with his teammates, and that kind of rubbed people the wrong way. But he's a little bit of a. But when you're that great and you've been that great for that long, I get it. Like, I think if we put ourselves in his shoes, we'd probably all at some point fall into that type of way. But if this is the last run of him here in Houston, I hope it gets better. I hope it doesn't go out like this, because it's just not a lot of fun watching him since he's come back from this injury. And I'm still willing to give him the month, see what it looks like. Because right now, he doesn't have command. His best pitch might be his curveball. It really is. His fastball doesn't beat guys very consistently anymore. His changeup can be a good pitch, but he just does not have the command that he used to on top of that. And he's got to labor through innings. If he had the pinpoint command, I think he'd have an easier time of aging like this. But without that pinpoint command, it doesn't exist the same way that it used to for Justin Verlander. So tough day for him today. Tough day for the Astros. They fall 5-3 to the Cincinnati Reds to open up this series. Finally, they get a day of rest. Let's talk about what a day of rest might mean for this club tomorrow. We'll do that next year on the Locked On Astros Postcast. You hear us a lot on this channel talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We have something a little different for you now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. Locked On Astros Postcast on a Labor Day Monday. Thanks for stopping by and joining the show. If you're new to the channel, I am your host, Michael Connor. Appreciate you guys coming by. Hit that subscribe button. Again, if you are new. If you're also looking for this show when it comes to the podcast form of it, the audio form of it, just search Locked On Astros. Anywhere that you get your podcast, you'll find this show and the Locked On Astros show. Brett and Eric doing a great job every day talking Astros with you guys. It's all in the same place, and it's for the price of absolutely nothing. I want to go ahead and remind you one more time that this channel is not just Astros, of course. This is going to be a very big week on the channel. We have football back in our lives. We're going to be busy in the month of September. I think it's going to be like almost 40 shows this month in total because of Astros and Texans and Cougs. So I'm just going to keep reminding you all week long. Saturday, we have Astros at 3. We'll do the postcast right after. U of H football plays at 6. We'll do the postcast right after that. Sunday, Texans Colts season opener in Indianapolis. We will do the postcast for that show at after that one ends, and then Astros will end probably while we're doing that show on Sunday because they play at 1:00. And as soon as I get done with the Texans postcast, we'll transition over and we will do the Astros postcast. So we're going to do them all this weekend. It's going to be a big weekend here on the channel, and of course, we'll be with you all throughout this week as well with the Astros postcast as the final stretch is going, which, by the way, they lose today 5-3 to the Reds. Astros falling back to 75 and 63. Update on the game out in, I think they're playing in Oakland, I believe. Mariners and A's. It is 2-0 Mariners in the bottom of the second there. Yes, they are playing in Oakland in that series, so that'll be the final one for them out there. Go A's, go. The Mariners just dropped a series over the weekend to the Los Angeles Angels, so they're capable of losing the A's. That we do know. Hey, you know what just happened? That stretch of 18 days in a row with a baseball game has ended for the Astros. Just go back and take a look at it. They won 2 out of 3 against the White Sox to start it off. Dropped 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox. Split with the Orioles in Baltimore over 4 games. Dropped 2 out of 3 to the Phillies. Swept the Royals and then finished it off today with a loss. Overall, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. They had an opportunity in that stretch to extend that lead in the American League West a little bit more than they have at the moment, but it sits currently at 5.5 games. If Seattle can, of course, pull off the win today, they will be 5 games back of the Astros. But they survived it, right? And I mentioned this yesterday. You got to rest up. They got a day off tomorrow, and then they'll have another day off next Monday, the 9th. They will not have another day off after that. They will play from the 10th all the way through the 25th. They will not get another day off until the 26th of September. That is the day before they start their last series of the season, and that will be a big one potentially for the seeding in the American League in Cleveland to wrap up the season. Astros now sitting 4 games back of the Guardians, by the way, for the second best record for the division winners in the American League. So it's not impossible. We've seen that with this team. They overcame a 10-game deficit in the American League West in a month. Was it a month? Basically a month? Yeah, it was 1 month that they came back from a 10-game deficit. Just absolutely crazy. Did want to mention one other thing, too, and I didn't mention this when we started today. You realize it's I think it's 7 or 8 consecutive losses to the Cincinnati Reds. Last time they were in Cincinnati was 2019. They got swept in the 3-game series. I remember that series because Garrett Cole went out there in a day game, and one of them got beat up. I think Verlander lost another start in that series, too. Then last year at Minute Maid Park, the Reds swept the Astros. Maybe you know what it is? I'm telling you, it's the payback for the NL Central days where the Astros just used to pound on Cincinnati all the time. And I mentioned this last night. Berkman in particular, but Bagwell as well. Berkman used to just slaughter Reds pitching. I mean, that guy put up like ridiculous career numbers against them. And I think he even added on to him when he was a Cardinal for a year there. Or he was a Cardinal for 2 years, but I think he only played like really it was like 1 year because I think he got hurt the next year and like barely played at all. Then he was out of St. Louis. But I think that's what it is. That's the payback for all the years of just beating up on the Cincinnati Reds. And you know what? It's all right, I guess. You don't have to play them anymore. I don't miss, I really don't miss when you watch these games is playing like it's Labor Day Monday. I know that the Reds, they really hate the ownership there because the owner is terrible. But like it's Labor Day on a holiday and they can't get anybody out there at that game. I mean, just nuts. Absolutely nuts that was like that. It's like majority empty. Berkman, by the way, against the Cincinnati Reds, as I'm pulling this up right now, career-wise against them, 174 games, 314 average, 52 home runs, 144 runs batted in. He walked 124 times to just 99 strikeouts, so he had a 431 on-base percentage, 656 slug, and a 1087 OPS. He also had 39 doubles and 4 triples against them. Wow. I mean, just absolutely obliterated Cincinnati pitching in his career. He did well against everybody else, too, but nobody like that. Or I shouldn't say that. He did, yeah, I mean, nobody like that. He was really good against the Cardinals as well. 313 lifetime hitter against them with 39 home runs. Now it's got me curious. Hold on, guys. I'm just going to do this live because I know Bagwell's numbers against Cincinnati were great as well. But are they Lance Berkman numbers is the real question. Which, by the way, if you were watching the game today, you know that Jeff Bagwell's on the TV broadcast. He is a big, quick turn off the TV broadcast for me. They say never meet your heroes. If you've ever heard me, I think I've told that story before. I met Jeff Bagwell when I was a kid, and he was a player, and he denied me an autograph in a restaurant where he was the only person in there. And I get it, like, you don't want to be bugged, but I was like 9 years old, and there was nobody else there, and I just asked him to sign something, and he just looked at me and said, no. And I was like crying. I mean, like literally crying. And, after that, he's not the nicest person in the world. Bagwell, 308, 49, and 154 lifetime against them with a 10.090 OPS. So Berkman was better. They were both great. They both absolutely crushed. Let's talk about the Kyle Tucker situation, because if you did not see that earlier today, we'll discuss that here in a brief moment on the Locked On Astros Postcast. Let me tell you right now about, that's right, I'm going to tell you about the Game Time app. Maybe you're looking to get to the games this week out there in Cincinnati, wherever it might be. And I don't know why I'm clicking on my thing, it's not working. The Game Time app is a great app to get you into the games, the big events, whatever it might be that you're looking for. And there it is. And you can do that right now by downloading that Game Time app. Look, they've got unbelievable deals across the app. I mean, just great deals to all the events that you're looking to get into, and you can do it today, including the priority Game Time picks. It's a curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. They, of course, also have the all-in pricing, which is a feature that shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. When you do have that feature, you need to go into the app and turn that on to see that. But again, another great feature on the Game Time app where you can check out the all-in pricing instead of seeing, everything last second, knowing what you're paying for going in before you go and buy the tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Locked On Astros Postcast on I keep wanting to say Sunday. It's not Sunday. It's Monday. It's Labor Day Monday. And Labor Day Monday got started with, there's been good news for the Astros. Sounds like Wednesday or Thursday is going to be the day that the Astros get Kyle Tucker back. in a big league game. He's not going to have any kind of rehab assignment, and he's just going to go right back into playing games. It's been 3 months since he's played for this team. It's going to be a huge boost. Huge boost. We'll see how much he's able to play the field consistently. But I think we've all kind of wondered about it the entire time. We all said it, how it's like the world's worst bone bruise is what they kept saying. It's just a bone bruise, just a bone bruise. Dana Brown's out there constantly being asked about, just a bone bruise, just bone bruise. Well, today, Chandler Rome of The Athletic put this out, if you missed it, that the thing that the Astros said, being a deep bruise of the bone or shin contusion is what they've called it since he went on the injured list. 3 people briefed on the matter told The Athletic that Tucker sustained a fracture to his shin. Asked twice on Saturday whether Tucker's shin had a fracture, General Manager Dana Brown said it did not. Well, that changed on Monday because Dana Brown said, after several rounds of medical imaging, we suspect that there was some type of small fracture. As with all injuries of this type, once the fracture heals, it takes time for the muscles around the leg to regain strength. Tuck has worked extremely hard to get back on the field and thankfully is ready now to help us in September and in the postseason. Tucker's agent also apparently declined to comment on this story. It's not the end of the world. Like, it's not something that we're just like going to sit here and belabor forever, but it gets back to the trust. And, you know, again, I've had close access throughout the years, being there on the flagship radio station and being at the ballpark all the time and being around it. And I don't understand their mindset on not just telling us what it is. Every freaking team out there tells everybody what the injuries are. There's at least half the teams in the league that make their training staff available to the media to speak. The Astros don't. The Astros trainer, Daniel Jeremiah, has never spoken to the media. And I'm going to be honest, like, we've been around him at some points where he will go to a player before he talks to the media and tells him what to say and what not to say right in front of you. I don't understand it. I don't understand why you have to lie to our face constantly. Just tell us. I mean, you knew he was going to be out for a while, but you kept stringing people along with it. Like, what's the point? You knew it was a fracture. So stupid. And honestly, I wish Rob Manfred in baseball would do something about the way that injuries get reported. Just, the fans want to know. That's all it is. And you could sit here and say, oh, well, the fans aren't owed anything. But, you know, what you going to give it? Are you giving an edge? Like Dusty always used to say, you're giving an edge to the other team. You tell them what's going on. No, you're not. He's on the injured list. They know he's not playing. You could tell us what's wrong with him. It's a stupid philosophy that they have. They do a lot of things really, really well over there. Their handling of the injury situation and how they speak to them, even how they handle the players coming back. And James Click had vowed that they were going to, take a deep look at how they went through the rehab process with players. Now they bring players back because they kept having guys last year that were hurt, getting re-hurt, trying to get back because they were rushing them all the time. And then we've seen it again this year. Clearly nothing's changed. For all the right that they do when it comes to developing players, their medical staff sucks. It's not good. I just don't get it. And to be honest with you, I don't know how that guy, the head trainer, isn't held accountable for what he does over there. I really, really don't understand. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. I thought that was very interesting. Tomorrow, day off. I don't mind doing this every day. I love doing this every day with you guys. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to enjoy a day off tomorrow. My wife and I are going to do some things. It's going to be great. It's going to be a good night. Don't forget to come back on Wednesday, though. They play normal-ish time on Wednesday, 5:40 first pitch. So we'll be on, if it's anything like today, it'll be over 3 hours. Today's game was slow. But, in that 8:30-ish window Wednesday night, then they'll wrap this up on Thursday with a day game, 12:10 on Thursday. So we'll be with you mid-afternoon on Thursday afternoon. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Labor Day holiday. Again, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We will talk again Wednesday night right here on the Locked On Astros Postcast.